Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm super excited today to make a video about why feminism should be anti-capitalist, compared to what it is today, and why capitalism definitely has hurt women as well as men, but more so women, of course. And so we're going to see what this has to do with primitive accumulation, which you might have heard about if you have heard of Marx, actually. So this channel is going to talk a lot about what feminism used to be, or what it is today, the differences. We'll oppose it to state feminism, and of course we'll cover a lot of other topics that might be relevant to this issue. So with that, thanks for joining me. Of course, like, subscribe, comment, click on that little bell if you want to hear more about these topics in the future, because I depend on you to continue with this channel. So let's get started with today's topic. So if you haven't heard about primitive accumulation, I'll quickly mention the accumulation of capital, which is using the surplus money as capital when you invest your profits back into your business for more profit. Imagine how it all started, because of course it wasn't always like this. So how do you get started when pretty much everyone during the medieval ages in Europe worked on the lands lent to them by some lords? They don't exactly need to work for you, at least not in the way we work for companies nowadays. So first you would need to separate people from the means of production, which are the very lands they live on and cultivate. Work was quite different, so that they had those lands that they received from the lords. When they had done a good job, especially, they received more lands, and that was how they were paid. So not by money, but by lands. So imagine whole groups of people working together on the field to live from it, and to give some of what they got to their lords, of course. Imagine whole groups of women working together, not just on the field, but taking care of the kids together, doing domestic work, being the doctors themselves and all. Why would all those people go away, leave their group, their community, which gives them security and so on? They had the social life and everything going on there, everything in one place. So we call them the commoners, because they had everything in common. So especially women really needed to stay together there. They were helping each other to give birth, take care of the kids and so on. So the concept of private property flourished at that point. And the lords ejected these people who were then deprived from their land and their very livelihood. And so they were ejected from where they had always lived, where they had their community. So of course this built some resentment, and some of the supposed envy we hear about sometimes when we hear about witch hunts. So they were envious. It's all related, but this is for another video. So the people lost their homes, their community, their way of making a living and eat. So beggars didn't really exist before that, apparently, but beggars started existing and coming out because of this phenomenon. So those people needed now to buy food instead of making it themselves by cultivating the lands. They needed to buy a home or rent one, whereas they were given their homes before, at least temporarily, by those lords under whom they were under their protection. In exchange for working their lands, but that wasn't the case anymore. So now people needed to work for the capitalists in order to survive, and they did, of course. They wanted to eat. But another phenomenon that took place, which Marx doesn't talk about, since this has been studied by Marx. So this phenomenon is the women got separated like they had never before. Quite a bit of misogyny grew at that point. So that was before the medieval ages, or at the very end, and the beginning of the Age of Enlightenment. We tend to think that, the Dark Ages and so on is the worst time for women. But actually it wasn't that bad as we think. Women were told to shut up after the medieval ages. They were told to go stay with their husband. They were isolated in their houses. For capitalism, they were told to stay away from their sisters and from where the whole community used to live. So it was a big deal for women, more so than for men. So of course, in such an environment, forget about continuing this woman's work, forget about helping each other in labor, forget about raising kids together, forget about spending time with your gossips, which was the word back then in English for your female friends. Speaking to other women was seen as, in a very bad way, especially without men around. So what were they talking about without men knowing what they were talking about? So you should stay at home with your husband, work for him, otherwise you might be a witch and it might cost you your life. So historian Silvia Federici, whom I recommend you to go and read about, she talks about it in quite a few of her books. And she explains how we never reach the same level of sorority again after this, which we had back then. Indeed, until today, when you go into labor, you may have midwives, of course, but any supposed problem that may come out, invented problems often, a man is coming to help you, which was completely, this help was completely created after this capitalist birth, and so you need a man to maybe cut your belly and get your child out, as if you needed that, which should be an absolute last resort, by the way, but a lot of countries like Brazil and I think in the USA think it's almost like the normal thing to do. But it shouldn't be the norm. It's not the norm, but we make it the norm. So we know that this is not necessary because we have some Nordic countries, for example, where this is extremely rare. We know it's not necessary. But so you will have those men helping you, cutting your belly or cutting your perineum, cutting things, slashing through your vagina and anus. Ouch. They might also use a vacuum extraction and basically do some other lovely things like this to women. All which started after capitalism started. Some capitalist men wanting to make some money, accumulate more capital, even if that means destroying women's bodies and maybe also traumatizing the birth of every single child. So let's not forget that despite humans working for their homes and food now, we also saw a decrease in the value of human labor a couple of 100 years ago afterwards, maybe due to the advancement of science and technology. So this lovely industrial age, which decreased the value of human labor, and we were dependent on that. So low pay, unemployment arrived, terms that definitely didn't exist back then, at least in the medieval ages. So of course, there would be a lot more to say about this. If you want to know more about it, I really recommend you to read some books by Silvia Federici. Any book will do. She's amazing. She's Italian, but her books are either written in English or translated, at least. So I've been reading some of her books and really getting inspired by this. So there will be a lot of other videos coming up. We'll talk a little bit more about this subject, and we'll cover a lot of other subjects related to this, but for now I just wanted to open the door for some people who might not have heard about this before. If you have, please let me know. I would be really interested because there are so few people who have heard about this. So tell me what else you've heard. Leave a comment. It will also help my channel, and if you have any questions, of course, leave your questions in the comment section. I will do my best to answer them. And that's it for this video. So I hope you guys have a great day and see you soon in the next video.